Okay, this is a new reaction video for me. What's a mistake you learned that you can help other people help to avoid? Looks like mistake you learned the hard way. I think that's what she's going to say. Yeah, mistake you learned the hard way. Please click like, share, and subscribe, and let's see what's going on here.
What's a mistake you learned the hard way that you can now help people to avoid? I'll go first.
About a month after I graduated college, I looked back and I had this horrible feeling come over me. And I thought, this is what it feels like to get to the end of your life and realize that you wasted it.
You graduated from college and you realize you just wasted your life?
You had so much opportunity to enjoy things, to find those small moments of joy and pleasure in the little things. But instead, I chose proving my worth over enjoying my life.
No offense, but can't you do both at the same time? My nephew just graduated from college and he did both at the same time.
I chose external validation over myself.
Boy, this girl is thinking way too hard.
I chose being the straight A 4.0 perfectionist over my fucking sanity.
Well, that's not my fault, honey. That's yours.
Never again.
Okay, what do you want to be? Okay. Look, fair enough. You screwed up. Don't ever go to college. Don't ever try and prove yourself. Don't try and be a better person than you are. That's no way to live. What you need to do is, I guess, I don't know why you can't do both at the same time. I really don't.
You don't deserve to get to the end of your life.
This isn't the end of your life.
And wish that you had done it different. You can start doing it different right.
Yes, you can too.
Now, once you realize you're grabbing at things outside of you to fill your own void.
Boy, this girl really is thinking too hard about life.
Is when you can start filling that void yourself.
What's a mistake you learned
That is absolutely screwy.
the hard way that you can now help people to avoid?
Oh, I've got a good one. So I'm a doctor. I've been married for 11 years, and my wife is not in medicine. And it never once occurred to me in all the years we've been together that maybe she should take a class and learn how to do
Now this makes sense. Yes, this makes a lot of sense.
CPR. I mean, I guess I always assumed that, we're usually together, so if something happens to somebody, I'll be there to help.
Right.
But then last year came along, and I had a cardiac arrest in my sleep.
And if she didn't know CPR, then might not be there.
And she had to learn CPR on the fly from the 911 dispatcher to save my life. Fortunately, it worked out, but ideally that is not the way to learn CPR. Everyone should know CPR. You, your family, your friends. It should be a requirement in schools. Every job should require you to know CPR. There's no downside to learning CPR. And
Now this makes a hell of a lot more sense than what the previous one said. Yeah, everybody should learn CPR. This makes perfect sense.
You could save someone's life.
What's a mistake you learned the hard way that you can now help people to avoid?
So, like most teenage girls, I got my belly button pierced when I was 16, and now after having 2 babies, I also have 2 belly buttons, so I definitely just recommend not getting it. It's not worth it.
Okay, that's a personal choice, but I can understand that.
Mistake you learned the hard way that you can now help people to avoid.
I have one that I only learned at the ripe old age of 26. Lots of you may know this already, but I didn't. And it was a game changer for me. You might laugh and say everybody knows that, but some people don't. Pass it on. If you're a human that doesn't have a penis and you need to wee outside, do it like this. Aim backwards.
Okay. Well, I have a penis, so I will not be doing that. But hey, that's good advice. That is good advice. Another thing you can do is if you have a boyfriend with you or another person, you can also have them hold you like you're over a toilet, like a fake toilet, out in the middle of nowhere, mind you. Nobody can see you, and then do it that way as well. Yeah, I'm assuming she learned that the hard way, and now maybe she's helping you avoid it too. Like I said, it's not a problem I'm never going to have to worry about. The one thing that I learned, the mistake I learned, and I've done videos on these about stupid. I won't say stupid. I don't like the word stupid, but not very intelligent Americans. Is I learned that there is other things outside of America. I decided to learn my history. I decided to learn my geography. to some extent, so I know what you're talking about. If you say you're in, if you say you're in Nigeria, or if you say you're in the Netherlands, or if you say you're in Madagascar, where you're talking about, or where New Zealand is, where Japan is, and things like that. Believe you me, it does help to know these things. But yeah, this is a good one.
Not like this.
Ooh, no, you don't want to do that.
Aiming forwards, bad.
Nope.
No splashback, no soggy feet, no soggy ankles. You'll be great.
Now, keep in mind, this must be a situation where you have no other choice but to do it like that. Okay? Because I think for most people, they would hold it until they found a toilet.
What's a mistake you learned the hard way that you can now help people to avoid? I'll go first.
Do not go above and beyond for any job. They ask you to come in on your day off, say no. They ask you to take on more responsibility, say no, or ask for a pay increase. They ask you to work overtime, say no, or ask for a pay increase. Somebody called off and they want you to come in and cover their shift, say no. If you're unhappy and you want to go find another job, don't let your managers talk you out of it. They'll act like they want to negotiate to make you happier, but I promise nothing is going to change. If you're asked...
Yeah, a lot of this stuff is personal preference, depending on where you're working. And you may have bad, because I've been at places where if you work and they ask what he's doing, you don't get anything from it. It's just they'll overlook it and not really care one way or the other. But I've also been to places where they do take notice of it, and they are willing to work with you on certain things. So this really is a personal preference.
Asked to do anything beyond what you initially signed up for in your job description, the answer should always be no. I worked for a company that exploited the shit out of my willingness to help and expected me to pick up the slack for their bad management and their piss poor organizations.
Right. If they're a bad organization that you're working for and they ask you to do stuff like that to cover them, then I can understand where he's coming from. But hasn't been my experience at a lot of places.
That is not a responsibility that should be imposed upon any one single person. If you feel like you're being exploited, trust your intuition because you most likely are.
Yeah, probably.
It's a mistake you learned the hard way that you can now help people to avoid.
Do not move in with your childhood best friend. Even if you've never fought, don't do it.
I actually moved in with my best friend from high school. We lived together for a year, and we had no problems. It was perfectly fine. I enjoyed living with him. We had no problems, no disagreements. So I had no problems with it.
Even if you've been friends for nearly 20 years, don't do it. Just don't do it, because you could end up like me where you're paying $600 a month for a place that you don't stay at because you don't feel safe there.
Well, that's also a matter of choice of where you chose to live. Me and my buddy got an apartment. We got it in a pretty good area. It wasn't, the cheapest place, but it was also in a good area too. And so,
It's a mistake you learned the hard way that you can now.
But it is good advice. I don't think that's necessarily moving in with the wrong person. That's where they decided to move in, because it looks like they kind of stiffed you.
Help people to avoid.
At your job, always be building yourself a case before you need it. Because the first thing a higher up is going to do, or a fellow employee is going to do when they get in trouble, is start throwing people under the bus. You need to be able to hijack that bus.
Yeah, I mean that's anything that's going on at your job, be wary of it and be knowledgeable of it. So if things do hit the fan, you can say, this is what I'm doing. Okay, so yeah, this is not bad advice.
Took notes of everything my supervisor did. I took note of every policy change. Like, for example, we weren't supposed to have our phones on the job, but our supervisors frequently called us on our personal phones while on the job, forcing us to violate the policy. Took note of every single time that happened. And then one day, if they tried to say, like, oh, we got to write you up, we caught you on your phone, I had a list of all these dates of times they forced me to violate that policy. Mm-hmm. And saying, you cannot write me up for this.
No, basically, I wouldn't say it like, I would say you can't write me up. Said, well, if you're going to write me up for this, I've got these times when I was called by my boss. Are you going to write them up too? Are we going to write everybody up? Because, and that's how you handle that situation. But you don't, basically you just point out the obvious.
Be prepared to hijack the bus before they throw you under
Absolutely.
it.
What's a mistake you
And that's only if they are planning to throw you underneath. Not a lot of companies that I've worked for have done stuff like that, but I do have friends who've had that situation happen to them where they had to play the fall guy or fall gal, and it's not a pretty sight, and it really ticked them off.
you learned the hard way that you can now help people to avoid? I'll go first.
Okay, before I tell you what it is that I did, please do not at me, okay? I realize it was a mistake. Let your children be individually what they are. And I know that sounds very basic, but it wasn't for me, okay? So I have twins, and one of them was very girly and the other one was very tomboy. And the girly one I just felt like was going to get more attention or going to be more liked than the other one because she just kind of dressed down, and so I tried to make her be girly. I would say things like, well, don't wear that. Don't you want to look cute? What did that just say to her? It just said to her that she's not cute. I look back at these pictures of her just being her in the clothes that made her happy to be her, and she was freaking cute. My daughter's complex about herself and her comparison with her sister is founded on my mistake. So if your kid wants to be a girly girl, if she wants to be a tomboy, let them.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's stuff that, when you have a kid, is let them be the kid. Let them figure it out for themselves. There are certain things you can do to guide them, but there's some things you can do that can also diminish that as well. So yeah, just, hey, if that's what you want to do, that's what you do. But, and see what happens. I think that's good. I think that's good advice, but but if you speak to them like that, it may put them into a shell.
What's a mistake you learned the hard way?
Yeah, I remember there was a movie in 1989 called Parenthood. Ron Howard directed it, and he said, when it comes to parenting, we're all winging it, and it's true. Okay, we don't. There's no manual that says if you do this, this, and this, everything will be all right.
That you can now help people to avoid.
There's a reason they're not dating somebody their own age. It's not because you're more mature. Abort mission.
What's a mistake you
I do not understand a thing that person just said to me, but okay.
learned the hard way that you can now help people to avoid? I'll go first. Don't get matching tattoos with your best friend. It's only cool until you're not best friends anymore. What's a mistake you learned the hard way?
Well, that is a good advice. Don't get matching tattoos with your best friend. Don't get tattoos, period. Well, no, if you want tattoos, get tattoo. My father is not a fan of tattoos, and I've heard people say if you get a tattoo, then people can pick you out of life. Well, that's from intending to commit a crime. But no, look.
That you can now help people to avoid.
Make up your own mind on tattoos.
When you're in your party phase, when you're going out putting chemicals and condiments inside your body like you're a lab rat who listens to EDM, your bowels are going to be about as reliable as the New York subway system. You are going to come close to shitting yourself a lot.
Okay, this is good advice, but if you don't know, the New York subway system isn't the best. Certainly not like the train system in Germany that I experienced, which was fantastic.
From 19 to 23, I shit my pants like 8 times.
I don't know that you should be telling people that. I really don't. I mean, thanks for the advice. I'm well beyond my party years, but I don't know that you should be letting people know your face and that you crapped yourself 8 times.
And there was like 7 other occasions where I just found a dark corner and took a shit in public and prayed to God that no one confronted me with my shitty ass in the wind. So if you're treating your body like a public toilet at a music festival, just map out where toilets are between where you're going and where you live.
Now, I agree with that, but, again, I'm not sure. I mean, there's probably a better way to explain this than letting us know that you crapped yourself and that you took dumps in places where there wasn't a toilet.
It'll save you a lot of pants. Now follow me, you fucking idiots.
Yeah, I'm going to... Good advice. Follow him. Yes.
The mistake you learned the hard way that you can now help people to avoid. I'll go first.
Don't get Botox in your masseters. You might go from this smile to this.
Okay. I still think you have a good smile. I don't think your smile's that bad.
What's a mistake you learned the hard way?
But hey, that's your mistake. You made it. You're owning up to it. Good on you.
That you can now help people to avoid.
Don't do a bunch of acid in a short period of time.
don't do drugs in any period of time. That's probably the best advice I can. Yeah, do as she says, not as she does. I mean, yes.
I know it feels really good, but it's not a lie when they say it'll fry your brain.
Yeah, I'm just kind of getting that.
I don't remember anything.
What's a mistake?
It's like that commercial. Your brain on drugs is a fried egg. It's a fried egg right there.
You learned the hard way that you can now help people to avoid. I'll go first.
Don't smoke crack. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, look, some of these, like the guy with CPR, that was great. Don't smoke crack, good.
You do. Don't smoke crack.
What's a mistake you learned the hard way that you can now help people to avoid?
Okay, so I am not being dramatic when I say that what I'm about to tell you changed my life. So I struggled with periods for years. I had them really
Okay, this is something that's not going to affect me in any way, shape, or form.
badly. I had excruciating period pain that meant I was in agony for days every single month. I'd talked to lots of people about it, I'd been to lots of doctors, and generally the kind of consensus from people was, well, some people just get it bad, you're just unlucky. And then finally I went to this one doctor, and this is what she said to me. Periods should be an inconvenience at worst.
Shukas.
And she started explaining to me that the agony I was feeling wasn't just a bad period, and that just because something is common doesn't mean it's normal. And now I spend most of my time trying to help other people realise they don't have to suffer in silence either. If you're in that situation, I hear you, I love you, and I promise there are doctors out there that will listen.
What's a mistake you...
I don't know that she actually provided any solution except find a doctor that will listen. But again, that's not something I have to worry about, thank God. And believe me, all the females who are watching this right now, I have the utmost respect for what you had to go through with your period. So maybe she's right. Okay, so like I said, don't think I'm excuse me, don't think I'm making fun of this or not taking it seriously.
You learned the hard way that you can now help people to avoid.
This is something I wish I would have figured out sooner. Something that I feel like is hella obvious, but it takes everybody a while to get simple concepts sometimes. That person that you want so bad, that girl, that guy, that individual that you're trying to talk to that sucks at responding, is not playing hard to get. They simply don't want you. I feel like we all try to convince ourselves every now and then.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if they don't want you, they don't want you.
When we try to start a new relationship or start...
Yeah, I mean, if a person's not interested in you, don't take it, there's other people out there, but don't take it personally.
A new talking phase that they're not responding fast because they don't want to seem clingy. No such thing. Is there such thing as doing too much? Yes, but what I mean is, if they really want you, they're gonna show it. This whole thing where you go back and forth and try to figure out their intentions is so pointless.
Although it would be nice if they just said, I'm not interested in you, and kiss off, and then that'll tell you right there, and then you can go and find somebody else. But yeah.
For me, the second I have to try to figure out your intentions, I kind of already know what they are. Like, listen, if you want to try your hardest to get with someone, more power to you. But do not try to chase after someone who wouldn't even bust a little jog for you. Like, save your heart.
Agreed. Good. Again, good advice. If someone's not interested in you, but you're interested in them, it's not the end of the world. There's other people out there.
Mistake you learned the hard way that you can now help people to avoid.
Students who are about to enter college or are considering master's degrees or med schools or whatever like that, always remember, please do your research on your schools. Do your research on the places that you want to go, on the institutions you want to join into, and not just by their credentials.
Yeah. Again, I like this. This is smart advice. Make sure you do your research. That's what you need to do.
A lot of students make the mistake that when they research schools, they only look at the credentials and see if they have like good results when it comes to board exams or who are the most prominent graduates. And like, sure, those are good indicators, but if there's one thing you need to consider is that what is the reputation of the school when it comes to treating its students?
Yeah.
Does it have a reputation of like abusing students or not caring about their student welfare? Trust me when I tell you this matters more than you think, because if they don't have a good reputation, they will absolutely destroy you.
Yeah, I mean, look, for anything that you're doing, anything you're thinking of doing, whether it's a job, whether it's a school, whether it's anything, do your research. Find out. It's like you go on vacation. Find out if it's a good place to go. Don't just say, I'm going to stay a year in Los Angeles and find out it's one of the worst places and the most expensive and you don't get it for your bang for your buck. It's silly.
Education is for learning, not turning you into a machine.
That's a mistake you learned the hard way that you can now help people to avoid.
Yeah, hi, hello. Is this thing on? Okay.
Yeah, it's on. We can hear you.
True healing is meant to be done alone. I repeat, true healing is meant to be done alone. You have to keep promising someone that you're going to change. Let them go. If you're still waiting on them to change, accept them, understand them, then let them go.
Well, you don't have to let them go, but I get what he's saying, but, don't expect people to change because of you. Don't expect people to not change because of you. People are going to be what they are. Either love them for what they are or like them for what they are, be friends with them for what they are and accept it. And if you don't want to, then, then you can do what he's saying. Let them go.
Nothing on the outside can truly help you with your demons. Only you can fight your demons.
That is true, but there is help that can be had. Okay, you don't have to do it alone. Okay, I don't completely agree with this.
Only exists to reflect one of three things: your potential, your current flaws, or your past flaws. When you attempt to leave and they say don't and you stay, you merely act as a spiritual portable charger. When they try to leave and you say don't, you merely make them your love slave, draining each other in ways that you both don't understand.
That's way too deep. No, I mean, look. You can do what this guy says, or you can do it. I don't think there's a wrong answer here, but again, I'm not as smart as he is.
And that's on Twin Flames.
What's a celebrity impression that you can do?
Okay, yeah, like I said, that's okay. I mean, he spoke about a ton of things there that I don't necessarily agree with, but some I do agree with. I mean, you can't expect people to change, or you can't expect to mold people into something you want them to be, or vice versa. They can't, turn you into what they want you to be. But hey, that is what it is. But this is interesting. What's a mistake you learned that can now help people avoid? We learned about periods. We learned about if you're a female, if you have to take a leak, how you do that. We also learned about don't do drugs because you might crap yourself. But we also learned, it's not a bad idea to learn CPR. Well, hey, please click like, share, and subscribe. This was an interesting video. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Have a good rest of your day.